This is The World According to Jen and Carolyn. Hello. How's it going?
It's going pretty good.
It's a Monday night.
Today was weird.
You said it was weird.
Today was weird. The weather's weird. I just feel I'm coming off of a 2-day tech, like no media break too.
Okay.
So I'm like slowly emerging back up to the surface, and I know it's going to be weirder when I come back up, but I feel a little like detached, maybe
slowly acclimating to all the horrors that this world and particularly this country has to offer.
A little bit.
And offers a lot on a daily basis.
Oh, so much. And then when you miss a day or two, you're like gone.
I can't even keep up. Like I've got my finger on the pulse of this shit on a daily basis, and I can't keep up. Like my mom watches news 24/7, like mine. Barely leaves the house. And she always scoops me. She's like, did you hear? Yeah. I'm like, nope, I actually didn't. And I get notifications on my phone, and you beat MSNBC to notifying me.
Maybe because she's in Denver, so she gets it sooner.
No, I just think she is on the it's not healthy. I'm trying to get her to go out more and and I told her, I said she wants to start going to protests, yet she's worried about being in crowds. And I said, hey, look, all of these small individual protests that are going on at Tesla dealerships, like the one that me and my kid went to last Saturday, they're max 100 people.
Yeah.
And the one that I went to was so cute. It was a lot of people her age.
Oh, I like that.
People were like protesting the Vietnam War, and they're like, God damn it, I'm getting tired of protesting all this nonsense.
They've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, I'm like, you'll make friends.
Just tell me, PBS is still a thing, right?
As far as I know, as far as I know, but they are going after PBS because it's a tool used for education, and it's considered to be liberal because, it deals with facts, and anything fact-based is thereby woke and or liberal or both.
Well, I don't know. You don't fuck with Sesame Street. Like that's a pretty low blow.
It is. And Sesame Street already got moved to HBO from what I understand, but I think you can still get it on PBS because that would be really classist to take it away 100%.
If I ever had a kid, I would raise them on old Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street.
My kid is 7 and will still watch Sesame Street from time to time. He won't ask to watch it, but my husband will put it on.
It's kind of like weirdly mesmerizing.
And it's every time I watch it, they are giving a good lesson.
Yeah.
A lesson that aligns with how I'm raising our child as like a kind person who cares about people and doesn't judge people on the basis of appearance. Sesame Street is all all that.
Yeah. Remember when Jesse Jackson was on it?
Yes.
Oh, and Robin Williams and all the stars.
Everybody.
Love it.
Sesame Street's the thing.
Street.
We're not here to talk about Sesame Street. Although I do feel like the Grouch all the time now. I live in a fucking garbage can. We're
he recycles now.
He does. I bet he does. That's right. And Cookie Monster only eats cookies on occasion. They're called sometimes food.
Foods.
Yeah, that's what I tell my child. So today we're going to talk to you about tariffs, trade wars, and the Trump effect. So what the fuck is a tariff, and will the imposition of tariffs on foreign imports help or hinder the U.S. economy? I think we all know the answer to that. So Carolyn and I are going to try to break down complex economic policies into real world impacts and language that we can all understand. So we're diving into tariffs, what they are, how they've shaped U.S. history, and why Trump's aggressive tariff strategy can put the U.S. economy at risk of a recession.
And we're going to go into you're going to get a little free therapy today.
Good.
I'm going to give you some free ACT and a little free somatic therapy today. You can let me know if that activates you.
I feel like you're always giving free therapy. I feel like that's kind of your thing.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah. No, it's good. And I think it's important. And you balance out my hyperactive angry approach, my Bill Burr instincts to rage out on shit with a more therapeutic clinician perspective.
It's never good when I'm freaking out.
I count on you.
Yeah.
to maintain your stability. How close are you to your... Yeah, okay, you're a decent distance.
Okay.
I think you're a decent distance.
Thank you.
We're really trying to work on our mic technique here. Live and learn, guys. We've only been doing this for 2 years now. So anyway, Carolyn, pop quiz. Do you know what a tariff is?
I have to be honest, I didn't.
Okay.
I do now.
Okay,
but
good.
if I'm really being honest, I am that American.
Okay, but you thought of it as a tax, right?
It's a tax. I knew it was a tax on goods.
That's right. That's
okay.
Pretty much all it is. A tariff is essentially a tax on imported goods. Governments impose tariffs for a few reasons: to protect domestic industries by making foreign products more expensive, to punish foreign nations in trade disputes, and to generate revenue through, though in modern economics, tariffs make up a tiny portion of government income. So they come in two main types. I didn't know any of this. This is well beyond my very rudimentary comprehension. So ad valorem, which sounds like something out of Lord of the Rings or
Harry Potter.
Ad valorem. It's a death curse. Tariffs, which they're a percentage of the item's price. And then there are special tariffs, which charge a set amount per unit, like $2 per imported shirt. Sounds simple, right? Okay. But historically, tariffs have been economic weapons, sometimes helping industries, other times sparking crises. So tariffs in U.S. history, let's talk about that. We're going to talk about protectionism versus free trade. So tariffs obviously have been a hot political issue recently, but they really have since the founding of our country. So the tariff of 1828, known as the Tariff of Abominations.
Oh, yikes.
That's hardcore. Nearly sparked a constitutional crisis, which is what we're having right now, actually, with southern states furious over high duties on European goods. In the 1930s, the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act raised duties on thousands of imports. It was meant to protect American jobs, but instead it triggered global retaliation, worsening the Great Depression.
Whoopsies.
Backfire.
Smoot-Hawley.
Smoot-Hawley. I've heard of that one a few times. So I think, you hear about some of these things when you're in like the labor movement and whatnot. So over time, the U.S. shifted toward free trade, signing agreements like NAFTA, boo, down with NAFTA, 1994, and joining the World Trade Organization, also boo, to reduce tariffs and boost global trade. But in 2018, Trump flipped the script. So he's been talking about this shit for a while now, you guys, launching one of the most aggressive tariff policies in modern history. Obviously, it's gotten more aggressive now in his second term. So his tariff strategy: America first or economic gamble. I call it the latter, and so does Carolyn. So Trump's tariff war started in 2018 during his first administration, mainly targeting China, but also impacting the European Union, Canada, and Mexico. His argument: tariffs would force countries to stop cheating on trade and bring American jobs back to the U.S. As of March 20th, 2025, Trump has proposed and implemented several significant tariff measures aimed at addressing trade imbalances and protecting domestic industry. So, y'all, we wrote this like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, lots changed, huh?
Things are changing on a constant basis. Yeah. My understanding is, I think somebody leaked what was discussed today in a remote meeting, a Zoom meeting between Trump and the heads of the major auto companies. And my understanding is Trump basically threatened them and said, if you pass down the increased costs that you're going to experience as a result of these tariffs, you're going to be sorry.
Oh, man.
What the actual fuck? That's a far cry from Obama. And I'm not saying this is right, with the too big to fail philosophy, which was saving the American car manufacturers, the American car companies, back in 2008 during the Great Recession. So, very different ways of thinking. And I think Trump also on NBC today said something along the lines of, I don't give a shit if cars become more expensive for the average American. Let them eat cake, bitch.
But he can't do any. I think that the main thing that always gets odd, put it lightly, is like, just because he says all this stuff, don't these things have to pass Congress?
Not necessarily. It's really interesting. Like, a lot of the things that should be going through Congress, i.e. anything tied to money, is my understanding, he's sidestepping with executive orders. But, and he's not, unfortunately, getting enough pushback from Congress on these things. And that's where, we're seeing the Democrats essentially play dead. Well, if you play dead, your ass is going to be dead. And so, just today, I think Cory Booker maybe said this is a constitutional crisis and we have to act. And I couldn't agree more. So I want to see some action. Yeah. But anyway, it's not business as usual. And that's the problem. He's saying, fuck all these rules. I'm doing my own thing. And the only folks that are stopping it right now, at least, are the courts. And that's only by virtue of filing lawsuits. Like, when was it? Last week, he said that federal employees, about 1 million federal employees, no longer had the right to collective bargain. That is the root. That is the essence of any union. And the union representing these roughly 1 million employees from all these different departments is like, fuck you, we're suing. And I can almost guarantee whatever federal court this is heard in is going to overthrow his nonsense.
It's a waste of time.
Well, it's a waste of time, but it's also what we saw coming down the pike, because this is Project 2025.
Yes. Yeah.
That stupid fucking plan specifically says we're going to make it so that civil servants and federal employees can't unionize.
Mm-hmm.
It's bullshit. Like, granted, I work at the local level, but it concerns me as a civil servant who is currently protected by a union.
Well, just all the hypocrisy of it all too. Beyond that, it's like, then he's the first one to say, like, judges should be allowed to say what they want, except if they don't say things that I agree with. It's like, that's not how it works.
Typically, he says, if a judge doesn't agree with me, they're a moron.
Yeah.
And now he's trying to actively go after judges and anybody who was involved in investigating him, which resulted in, I don't know, what was it, 38 felonies? Anyway, back to tariffs.
We digress.
So in February, the beginning of February, President Trump signed executive orders imposing a 25% tariff on all goods imported from Mexico and Canada and a 10% tariff on goods imported from China. These measures were justified under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. There's your answer. Citing threats posed by illegal immigration and drug trafficking. You know how little fentanyl comes from Canada?
Yeah, right.
His primary reason for trying to impose these tariffs on Canada is because he claims that fentanyl is coming over the border. It's a minuscule amount.
I hate RFK, but at least he isn't down for big pharma.
Yeah.
And it's coming from here.
Yeah. Well, it is coming from China too. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
And it's coming from Latin America. Honduras, I think, is a big producer. I can't remember exactly, but a lot of the folks who are actually in the tenderloin selling drugs are coming from Honduras. And so, there are bad people here.
You can get a lot of drugs from Honduras. They have I just watched the documentary. They have a very different rule book specifically in Honduras.
I bet.
You get a lot of really weird shit there.
I bet.
It's like a free zone.
Yes. I don't know what the laws are like there.
There isn't one when it comes to that. You can take like crazy pharmaceutical drugs that, like, this guy's taking this thing that they've only seen for longevity studies in rats.
Oh shit.
It's a when you have a organ transplant.
Oh, uh-huh.
I forget the name of the drug, but you take this drug and it helps your body not reject it. But they saw that in rats, it reversed aging.
Oh,
Unless I want to tell you and I this, because we're going to start.
Oh my God. I know.
How in our face.
We're going to Honduras tomorrow, bitch.
No, but it has really bad side effects. It could give you cancer too, because it changes your hormones.
There's always a side effect.
Simply viva, live forever, but you might get cancer.
Yeah, no thanks.
No, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay,
anyway.
So mid-February, the administration announced the development of a fair and reciprocal plan to restore fairness in U.S. trade relationships and counter non-reciprocal trading arrangements. Here's the thing, you guys. The U.S. does not manufacture much. We have to import a lot of shit. Look at any product in your house, and I guarantee you the majority of the shit is made in fucking China. That is just the situation we're in, because that's globalization. All of these companies said, you know what? We have to be able to make these goods at the lowest price and sell them for the highest price. And that means going to the places where there are no environmental rules or fewer environmental regulations.
Or human rights.
Labor rights. Right? Yes, exactly. And Marx called it in the Communist Manifesto. And because I'm a commie, y'all, he said that what is going to happen with capitalism is that capitalists will chase goods to the end of the earth. They will go everywhere to have their goods, to get resources and to have their goods made. And that's what we're seeing. I would love to see manufacturing restored to the United States. And I'm talking good union jobs, not what Trump wants to do in these right to work states. I'm talking good union jobs. I would love to see it. I don't think imposing these tariffs are the answer. So then, let's see, the last one here. This is also mid to late February. President Trump declared intentions to introduce a 25% tariff on imports of automobiles, pharmaceuticals, and semiconductor chips, targeting key sectors to bolster domestic production. Hey, look, I work in economic development. I want to bolster local production, stateside production too. But I don't think that this is the remedy. I don't think there's no economist, no person who's far smarter than me and Carolyn who said, yes, this is the way to do it.
They're probably smarter than me.
They're smarter than both of us. I might be a reasonably intelligent human, an economist.
I don't do math.
Am not. Yeah. Right? I can follow trends. You lose me at the math. God damn it.
You really do.
Just show me a simple chart, simple graph.
Yes.
Dude, I remember in high school, in econ class,
you had an econ.
Oh, I know. I'm surprised. This was a pretty bootleg public school, but we had the craziest teacher and she wanted us to chart a stock and look at the paper every day and chart a stock. And I totally made up the points. I was like, this is how the stock fluctuated. I don't know. I passed. I did all right. It was funny.
God, I wish I would have taken a class like that.
Because how do you confirm? Back in the day, this was like,
oh, right.
The internet was just becoming a thing.
You looked at the paper.
So there was really no way, unless she was going to really work her ass off to figure out how these stocks rose and fell.
Genius.
Yeah. I got into advanced economics after that. No, not at all. Okay, so current status. And again, I wrote this 2 weeks ago. Implementation. The tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China took effect as scheduled. However, the tariffs on automobiles, pharmaceuticals, and semiconductor chips are pending further administration procedures and industry consultations. We'll see. Economic impact analysis suggests that these tariffs could generate approximately $140 billion in revenue for the remainder of 2025 and up to $1.5 trillion through fiscal year 2035 if maintained. Oh no. International response. Canada and Mexico have signaled intentions to impose retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods, potentially escalating trade tensions. Here's what I want to ask. The economic impact, this revenue that's going to be generated, where's it going? Mm-hmm. It's not going to me. It's not going to you. It's not going to be passed down in the form of savings, because guess what? For the foreseeable future, when these tariffs take effect, things are going to get more expensive. Right. And we know, based on our episode on, what the fuck episode was it? Inflation.
Right.
Our inflation episode, where we were talking about during the pandemic, how corporations tripled the amount that they needed to raise the cost of their goods.
Yes, we already saw this.
Yeah, to cover the increase in things like, supply chain issues.
Right.
So the corporations are always going to exacerbate the problem and pass the cost down to the consumer. Yeah. So we're not going to see any of this money that supposedly could potentially get.
Well, it's such a weird, again, this is the problem with Doge. I'm all for efficiency. I'm all for government spending edits, but let's look at our military. Let's not look at the 1% that the Corporation for Public Broadcasting causes. Right. Like there seems to be some fat we can cut and some different spaces we could do this. But again, that would not be part of Project 2025 or the Heritage Foundation's agenda.
No, and Doge is not about efficiency. They are about gutting the government and reducing it to nothing and then privatizing shit. Yeah. And we've seen time and time again, when things that are currently managed by the government get privatized, doesn't fucking work.
God, I mean, you've been through this in nonprofit work when they go from centralizing to decentralizing and then back again and back again. It's like, the process just is stupid.
Well, everything you can't, again, I like to say of the government, you can't touch a flower without troubling a star. I think that's actually Walt Whitman, but basically everything's connected. Like,
oh, whoa.
Like you're cutting.
I was like, flowers aren't stars, Jen.
Well,
what are you drinking?
Exactly. I am drinking some brandy, but look at it this way. Like the VA. Remember when we went to the protest last week at Airbnb, because the Airbnb dude, Joe Gabbia, it's a great shirt.
You can't see it.
Thank you, Nancy Pelosi, for the shirt and for having women's size shirts at your last event. So my husband works for a union, and just last Friday, I believe, or the Friday before, they were having a celebration to commemorate, I think it was the 10th anniversary of the signing of the Affordable Care Act. And so Nancy likes to have her events at my husband's office because it's a beautiful space, and because she knows that she owes a lot of her career to labor, and she's always been a really good friend to labor. Anyway, it was really refreshing when my husband's like, where are the men's shirts? They're like, oh, we don't have any more. And I was like, yes, I finally got a shirt that fits me. This is amazing. Every union or rally I go to, they're all these giant shirts.
Yeah. This is a fitted shirt.
I know. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I feel cute in it.
It's great. So, okay, back to
Tariffs.
the topic at hand. Carolyn, how does the anticipation of rising prices due to tariffs lead to changes in consumer spending habits such as panic buying, toilet paper, or reduced discretionary spending?
Well, again, as always, you're absolutely correct, Jen. Not just when it comes to my relationships, but definitely when it comes to tariffs. You know, so here's what happens. You're right. People hear that prices will rise. They don't just react, they anticipate. And this leads to behaviors like panic buying or cutting back on non-essentials. So let's talk about what's happening up here and psychologically. So have you heard of something called loss aversion?
No.
All right. So that's the term. Research by, I apologize for butchering this name, Kahneman and Tversky.
We love to butcher names on this show.
1979. It's something called prospect theory. Shows that people fear losses more than they enjoy equivalent gains. So when they expect price hikes, they feel a future loss of purchasing power, triggering anxiety-driven behaviors. Remember the FOMO that, like you said, that happened during COVID with toilet paper, hand sanitizers. There were other
hand
weird
sanitizer
shit too.
Makes sense. Toilet paper, of all things to worry we're going to run out of. I never got a logical explanation as to why people...
I'm home more. I'm going to eat more. I'm going to shit more.
Oh my God. I have to use my own toilet paper now. No more shitting at the office.
The day that I had donut day, where I literally walked to Bob's Donuts, got a dozen donuts, and walked back home and ate donuts the entire day. I think that was after Orange Day in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah, you guys.
I was like, yeah, I'm just going to do what I feel and shit
Orange
my pants
Day,
a lot.
you guys, like Orange Day. So we were like pretty fresh into the pandemic. It was still 2020. Then we had all these wildfires, of course. It felt like the world was going to end, pretty much like it feels now.
And like really weird.
Really weird. Well, what happened was there was some sort of chemical reaction between the fog and like the fire smoke. It made everything dark, like it was nighttime, and it was orange outside, and it
like
lasted
some biblical plague.
We thought we were gonna die. We thought it was fucking over, y'all.
Yeah.
Over. Over. It's coming. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Shit's only gonna get weirder. Go on,
So
please.
anyway, hand signer FOMO, right? All right. So it's like FOMO, basically loss aversion. All right. So the Journal of Consumer Research study found in 2021 that perceived scarcity, whether real or artificial, pushes people to buy immediately rather than save. See, I'm kind of the opposite.
Oh, yeah.
I'm that. I'm what's called a future-oriented decision maker. When things become really scarce, I've probably saved more money in the past 3 months since Trump went into office. Because I'm like, we got to prepare to like
unpredictable, man.
And, you know, like get on Mario's Vespa.
Your bug out bag, dude. You do have a Vespa. See, we need like a dirt bike or something.
We're gonna be like,
city.
What was his name? Daryl. We're gonna be like, the Italian version of Daryl. Me and Mario, instead of a bow and arrow,
right? Or like Eddie Furlong from Terminator 2, just like riding our dirt bike in the sewers.
Dude, that's me. So I'm a little bit more that sense. A psychological study from 2015 found that financial uncertainty makes people prioritize essentials and delay discretionary spending as a coping strategy. So people basically either panic buy or tighten up their budgets depending on their financial stability. Yeah. I'm unstable and my anxiety levels are really high. So it makes sense. And yes, there is a connection between mental health and economic behavior, which you would think is sort of a no duh, but it is surprising to me how not like concrete that is for some people. And again, depending on your situation or where you're coming from, that could also be why. So stress over rising costs absolutely has an impact on our wallets and our well-beings. And here's science to prove that. American Journal of Consumer Psychology in 2017 found that financial anxiety leads to extreme behaviors, either excessive hoarding or strict spending limits. Yeah. So here's my 2 cents on this. Calm the F down and think about wants versus needs. Yeah. I think that this is a good thing for all of us because you talk about capitalism. Capitalism is also about convincing people they need things and that need is actually a want when that's not true. You go into the grocery store and just stare at the variety of Oreos. Just Oreos. Yeah. Do we need that many kinds? Like,
I need my double stuff.
Cool. That's cool. But do we need like lemon flavored Oreos. I'm like,
but you know which one I do need? The one covered in white chocolate. I need that one.
Well, okay.
I think that's a special Christmas one.
I'm an Oreo purist, right? Yeah. But
I don't even eat Oreos. And I'm like,
if that was my last meal, I would fucking go bananas on Oreos. Oh, I love Oreos. It's like that's like my down and dirty fucking nasty food shit. Anyway, back to coping. As a girl who ate a box of donuts in a day and shit her pants excessively. No, I made it to the toilet.
Good. That's the benefit of being at home and near your toilet.
And near my toilet.
It's why I like working from home. Yeah. I need a reasonable accommodation for my IBS. Dude, I saw a mug. It's got a raccoon on it, and it just says it's IBS. I be shitting. I'm like, I need this because I have IBS, and I'm also kind of like a raccoon. Go on.
So anyway, so again, just think about wants versus needs, and to cope, cognitive reframing helps. And I'll talk a little bit about how to get here later, but this is not the time to catastrophize. I get it. I know we're all feeling that. That's why you need to take breaks. I have to take 2 days where I just don't look. I actually didn't use my phone at all practically on Saturday, except to text dear friends like you.
Yeah.
And so, we've seen this. Oh, here's another thing. Also, make a financial plan.
Yeah.
Like actually know what you have and what you can spend. Harvard Business Review article in 2020 suggested that flexible budget reduces panic-driven behavior. So like know what you know and then go from there and make choices based off that. And if you're really worried about prices, take a breath, prioritize your needs, plan wisely. It's important. Like the difference between, I'll tell clients, like you can care about something because care is, I'm concerned about something. Like I care about it.
Yeah.
It matters to me. When you're worrying, that's all fear-based.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to push back as my socialist self.
Okay.
Like there are people like my mom, for instance, who's living on the margins, who, when the cost of eggs go up, you and me are like, okay, we're going to go to this alternative place to get eggs, or we're going to skip eggs. My mom, who's like, 100 pounds after having 2 strokes and relies on eggs, eats an egg every day because that's her protein. Like, this is problematic. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I, when I was super, super low income, particularly when I was in college until I was like 30, and anybody would give me the advice, like, you need to budget, you need to save. I'd be like, bitch, what am I budgeting and saving? I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I am barely making ends meet. So I worry about the folks who are already in very precarious financial circumstances. And they're like, fuck. Or you're a federal employee and the jobs, Doge and the fucking administration are cutting jobs left and right. There go your benefits. There goes your paycheck. Like there goes.
What are they going to do?
Everything. Like this is, I read a report that this last February, the job losses had not been that high since February of 2009. And we know what was happening in 2009, major recession. Because, and that's largely the biggest contributing factor, of course, is job losses at the federal level. Yeah. But still, that has a major economic impact, which I'm about to get into. Like, what is the impact on the overall economy?
Yeah. Can I answer your question?
Answer my question.
Okay. This is another, I agree with you. Yeah. 100%. This is what I would say to people of privilege. People who are reading this, and if you're going, oh, I need to do this. Yeah. This is the inherent problem that I think socialism answers. Yeah. Which is we need to care. Not because it's impacting us, but because it's impacting other people who can't do this shit.
Sure. And there are safety nets.
It's not even they can't, they won't. They don't have it to do. This is a bigger call to action to people who have means and are now feeling an impact. Right. You need to, I will say myself in this. This is a call to go, what am I doing to give? Yeah. To serve and to protect those people who don't have what I have. Yeah. And that takes effort. Yeah. And that's a huge gap
Right.
that's not being filled.
Yes. We need to definitely become more of a service-oriented society because everyone can do something. And doing things, as we always say, at the local level makes an impact. I'm fortunate. I have a job where every day, I get to work on policy that has hopefully a positive impact on the most vulnerable communities, the ones that the Trump administration is directly attacking. So there's validation there.
And this is all, it's going to have an inverse impact because not only are you going to, whether it's money, if you have money to give money. If you have time to give time. If you have resources to give resources. Do something. Get off your ass. Get off my ass.
Right.
Do more.
Well, just don't go to the internet and complain. If you're an armchair activist, like I don't do armchair activism. Like, yes, we use social media to our advantage to promote our message and our philosophy and to engage and connect with other like-minded folks. But we're actually doing the work too.
Well, you have to do the work. And I think that's part of what, any good socialist will do. Is say, what am I, where is something needed in my community? It's not, yes, grab a bag of clothes and donate, but that's not enough. Whatever you think you're doing, get out there and do more. Do more.
And you don't have to be a socialist. Like I happen to be a democratic socialist. I would say, your politics align pretty closely with mine, but you don't have to necessarily be.
Well, it's just being a good person.
Just be a good person.
You give back to your community and you take care of someone else that should be not you, but if I can't get to my mom, I can only hope that there's a community that can if I cannot.
Well, that's exactly right. And, a lot of people's moms and dads and elders rely on Social Security. And it's like that dumb motherfucker.
Oh, yeah.
When I did the TikTok.
That's exactly what I was thinking
about having my mom potentially having to go in and verify her identity in person because I don't think she could hack doing it online by herself, even with me walking her through it because she's 74 and had a stroke. Oh, no, you can do online. You can't do it over the phone anymore.
Oh,
so that's the thing.
I thought you had to go.
So it's going to disadvantage. Oh, I didn't turn my phone off. It's going to disadvantage folks with disabilities or folks like my mom who are elderly and like have a computer that barely works. And that guy's response was just stop crying, go and take her. I'm like, well, that poses a problem because she's in Denver and I'm here. Well, just here's what you do. Like he mansplained the solution, which was flying out. So now I'm spending $500 minimum on a plane ticket. I'm probably renting a car, spending $70 in an Uber.
You're boosting the economy.
Yeah, I'm boosting the economy. And then I am using my scant vacation days. So all in all, I'm probably spending $1,500 to address a problem that shouldn't exist in the first place.
And what does the person do who has no family?
Exactly. Or somebody who's bedbound.
Yeah.
Which a lot of
in nursing homes,
extremely disabled folks are. So anyway, that's where you're missing. That person was completely and totally missing the point. And
I don't know if he knew that.
Yeah, not service minded and not thinking about the big picture and how people are impacted. Yeah. Like you got to think beyond yourself. So, all right, let's talk about.
Well said.
Yeah, let's talk about the recession risk because right now we are gearing up for a recession. And some of it is associated with people who are planning for what they think is an inevitable decline in the economy. Like people saying, businesses saying, we're not hiring right now because we're very concerned about the economy and the volatility and the inconsistency and the up and down with Trump. So, when the government taxes imports, who actually pays? The answer is consumers and businesses. So here's why Trump's tariffs hurt the economy. 1, higher prices for consumers. Companies pass tariff costs to shoppers, like we said, raising prices on everyday goods like electronics, cars, and food. Retaliation from other countries. China hit U.S. farmers with tariffs on soybeans and pork, costing billions in lost exports. Supply chain chaos. Many American companies rely on global supply chains. Tariffs raise costs for manufacturers, making U.S. products less competitive. Market instability. The uncertainty caused businesses to delay hiring, like I said, and investment, slowing economic growth. We've had some of the worst days in the stock market in recent years, recently, because of all of this bullshit. And not that I put a lot of stock in the stock market, no pun intended, but it is reflective of an overall economic picture. It doesn't necessarily take into consideration the people, everyday people, working class people, but does give you an overview of an economic picture. So, by 2019, U.S. manufacturing was in recession. Companies like Harley Davidson and General Motors cut jobs. Studies from Moody's Analytics and the Brookings Institution estimated that Trump's trade war cost the U.S. economy over 300,000 jobs and reduced GDP growth by nearly 0.5%. This was his first administration, y'all, when he imposed some of these things. This is 2019. This is back in the day, y'all. Could tariffs push the U.S. into a recession? Experts warned this could increase inflation, forcing Americans to pay more for imported goods, spark another trade war, leading to job losses in key industries like agriculture and tech, slow economic growth, potentially triggering a recession, especially if businesses reduce hiring and investment. Even Trump's former economic advisor, Gary Cohn, admitted that the tariffs hurt the U.S. more than they helped. This is from CNBC in 2020. So, Carolyn, what is the relationship between increased economic uncertainty from trade wars and the incidence of mental health disorders, including stress and anxiety?
Well, if this topic isn't giving you stress and anxiety, I don't know what is.
Sorry to stress you out at all.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I got a post from someone a while back in response to, stress and anxiety and all this. And saying, I try not to let that stuff get to me.
Good for you.
We got to just find the joy. And it's like thoughts and prayers, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I get that. And that is the 2-day break that
Tell
I give
that to
myself.
the single mom who's working 2 jobs and can barely keep a roof over her head.
If you're saying, that is the point. If you're talking about what works for you, you just proved the point.
Right.
You're not thinking about the greater good.
Yeah.
So I can answer this in a lot of ways, but I will always say at the beginning, I don't know you.
Yeah.
Please do not take this as psychological advice. Consult your mental health professional or primary care. But you and I both know we keep it real when it comes to talking about cisgender white lady splaining about mental health. You just did that to me. Society and realities we all face, right? Not even what we face, but what people are facing on different tiers of that economic. So absolutely. Economic instability, whether it's trade wars, inflation, job layoffs, supply chain disruptions, it isn't about numbers. And to quote AOC and Bernie in that message that I think the democratic socialism is saying is it's about people.
Yeah.
This is about people.
That's
and
right.
I'm going to include our people on the right. They're people too.
Sure.
I disagree with what they're feeling, but they're being fucked over too. And we are powerful in our numbers. So we need them to come over.
Call you in, y'all. It's time.
All right. So this directly impacts our nervous system and our ability to stay present, and especially how marginalized communities navigate already stress. What I am feeling, there's some humility that something that's affecting me now shows my privilege.
Yeah.
That it got to that, which I don't even the fact that I don't even consider that, right?
Yeah.
That there's people on different levels in our society that have been experiencing this forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
On some level. So let's unpack and dive into this as we say in grad school.
I honor it, bro.
So I'm going to break this down. I thought a lot about this question.
Yeah.
And again, the call to action, I want to break this down through the lens of lifespan because your age matters. And that's like we just talked about senior citizens, your gender, your body, your ability, and if you're a neuro affirming care. I'm going to talk about this through polyvagal theory, acceptance and commitment therapy called ACT. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I like that though.
You would fucking love ACT.
I'm into the acronym.
ACT. It's ACT on purpose and biopic psychology. If you have ever looked in our show notes, this is the show notes of all show notes to go find and get some of this information. I put it all in there. So let's start with polyvagal theory, which is about how our nervous system responds to safety and threat. And when there's economic uncertainty, people are going to feel a lack of control.
Yeah.
And especially because it's tied to money and sex.
Yeah.
When I have couples that come into therapy, when you are fighting with your partner, 9 times out of 10, those two things are going to be involved.
Yeah.
Maybe not the same time. Maybe at the same time. I don't know.
Well, they're immensely important.
And they're immensely vulnerable. And they're immensely private. And we're often not taught these things. We're not explained these things.
Yeah.
It's a sense, I feel, I I have never chosen to be good at math. I don't see it's not my favorite.
Yeah.
Let me say that.
Well, you might not be good at math, but very early in yours and your fiance's relationship, you had a very honest and transparent conversation about finances.
I'm poor. I have a lot of student loan debt. Please marry me.
I think that's so important.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, like so many couples, it's like they're ready to walk to the altar.
If I didn't have that conversation.
Yes. And I think it's incredibly refreshing that you did that, because like you said, we're taught not to have those discussions. But if you see a future with somebody, it's important to know what's going on with them financially. Yep. And so we have to destigmatize that.
Yeah. Well, and there's in order to have these things, you need not everyone's going to have this affinity to being, good or bad at this.
Yeah.
And so talking about it makes it feel uncomfortable. Right. And then, again, I'll always say couples that talk about sex have better sex.
Totally.
Couples that talk about finances understand the more we talk about things, the better.
Yeah.
So again, feeling this lack of control about where the your finances and also the financial stability of sort of the government, which feels, we've talked about this for this sort of paternal, maternal feeling that some of us might have with that, which can go good or bad too. So again, this triggers chronic activation of our sympathetic nervous system. That's the fight or flight.
Yes.
People may feel so here's my warning. If you feel on edge, you're constantly worrying about bills, food security, whether or not you can support your family, go to the doctor, the list goes on and on. What we would say are sort of Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Right.
You're trying to figure out basic things.
Yes.
And you may actually, that doesn't mean you can't survive.
Right.
But the very mere fact that you're thinking about that, when a client comes in and they're not talking about those things, they're talking about higher level things. Yeah. It tells me something about where they are in their privilege.
Yes. They're not in survival mode, which is how I grew up.
They're able to, and again, that's not to say that someone who's poor and low income doesn't self-actualize and can't have these bigger things. I'm not saying that. However, you're probably not worrying about, should I go to my friend's bachelorette?
Yes.
And if you
are, it's because you might not be able to afford to participate.
Very good point. Yeah. So, BIPOC individuals and communities who have already faced historical systemic.
Are you saying BIPOC?
BIPOC.
Okay. Sorry. I'm like, biopic? Is that like a vision issue? That's okay. We're there now. BIPOC.
I didn't say that. I'm so sorry. Thank you. BIPOC.
Bionic.
Bionic. They're bionic. But, again, anyone who's grown up in a systemically disadvantaged or vulnerable population, I'm going to even say vulnerable.
Yeah.
The stress isn't new, and it's compounded. And the nervous system has adapted to the constant state of hypervigilance. You know this because of financial instability has often become a generational experience. The nervous system doesn't find relief. So, and again, we're always sort of in a blended state. It's you're not necessarily like, I'm in dorsal now, I'm in ventral, I'm in sympathetic. But if you're in that, you are in that. If you're feeling chronic anxiety, chronic depression, hopelessness, numbness, this is why people in economic times feel paralyzed and they don't even have the energy to keep pushing forward. I'm very proud to say that I have just taken on insurance.
Good.
And created a platform for that I'm working with and have 10 spots for low income. Good. But now that's me as a therapist saying this is what I can do. I used to only be able to take 2 or 3.
Yeah.
That's going to increase.
Awesome.
So these are things that we all can be doing even within our jobs to be giving more.
Makes a difference.
Acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, is also really helpful. ACT doesn't pretend things aren't hard, but it asks, how do we move towards our values when the world is uncertain? So as a Stoic, I really like ACT. Instead of just resisting and being consumed by the stress, ACT encourages us to acknowledge economic anxiety without letting it dictate our choices. We can feel the stress and still choose actions aligned with what matters to us. So, for example, if it matters to me to be a loving person and I check on my friends who I know are, moms who are really busy or something and offer maybe to babysit or something, that doesn't mean I could check mark off the list. Okay, I did my nice thing for the day. Yeah. So ACT is really about saying, how can I bring these values of being loving and taking care of my friends into every single thing I do throughout the day, throughout my week?
Aww.
That feels good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's things that it's a good way psychologically to work with people because they already see themselves as a good person. So I'm just going to do things, but then I also have to do that for myself.
Yeah, it's a perspective change.
Every single thing that I do. And like I said, I keep saying, let's be real. Let's be real, Jen. When it comes to economic uncertainty, individual action isn't alone the solution.
Right.
Again, I could do that all day. We're really talking about structural change.
Right.
We can I can only push to that at some level in my community, in my household, in my friend group, in my city, right? Or my neighborhood. ACT helps us stay present with what is in our control. Community support, creative financial problem solving, or helping people do that.
Yeah.
Grounding techniques to keep our nervous system from spiraling, or offering those services to people who benefit from that.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think that the phrase that I'm latching onto is doing what we can within our control, or staying present, because I think right now things are so overwhelming.
As they're intended to be.
Yeah. And we can feel totally helpless, which is why we keep pushing you to try to get involved at your local level. Like, I have a friend who's fluent in Spanish, and she's like, what organizations can I work with to help undocumented folks who might be afraid, where my ability to speak Spanish would be a benefit? That's doing something. That's something you can control.
And the fact that uncertainty hits harder, the less money and power you have. Yeah. So, again, people who are in populations, age, developmental, able-bodied, neurodiverse, like all the isms you can think of, right? So we have to talk about intergenerational economic trauma, and economic uncertainty is never just about today. Right. It's going to bring up past experiences of job discrimination, wealth gaps, communities being historically excluded from financial security. And this means that when trade wars disrupt jobs, it's not just about a one paycheck thing. It's about re-triggering cycles of economic stabilities that communities, BIPOC communities, immigrant communities, like I said, the isms go on and on and on. Just human beings at some level have had to fight against for generations. And this fuels frustration, disempowerment, and exhaustion. And that's the intention. Right. It is designed that way structurally to be suppressive and oppressive. Right. Here's where this one I kind of hate too, because it's it's like, here's where your cultural strength comes in. But yes.
But it's resistance and resilience.
Through community. And I mean that in a very non-white bodied way. If I can, right? I'm trying to be very, very empathetic here that, these are communities, no matter where you are, trans community, single moms, any single dads, people who are struggling, long histories of mutual aid, collective resistance, and creative adaptations. In times of economic stability, learning leaning into community care, sharing resources, intergenerational wisdom is going to be that emotional and practical buffer that helps us with stress. And you and I worked for nonprofits. What do you do when a volunteer comes in? We fucking love them. Yeah. When I was at the YMCA, like, a volunteer would come and they knew one or two things. We'd find, you don't got to do shit. I'm going to find exactly where you need to go. We're going to throw you a party.
We need you. Yeah.
And we want you. And we're here to help. We'll give you that one thing, So to your friend's point, there's something you can do somewhere. Right. You have to look for it though. It's not just going to come find you. Right. You got to go look.
Yeah. And when you talk about communities, we don't necessarily always need to talk about homogenous communities, though there's strength in that for sure. Like the intersectionality of communities that are created. This is why I love unions, for instance. I look at that as an intersectional community comprised of working people of all different types of backgrounds. But we are united, in solidarity around ensuring that we are able to keep our jobs, that we're paid fairly, that we get benefits, and that we're not treated like shit. So it is affirming and reaffirming to be in a community of folks who look like you, talk like you. And it's also can be reaffirming and strength-based to be in a community comprised of people who all share one common goal, regardless of their background. So,
I mean, it's not going to do everything. Right. But that's not the intention. It won't hurt though. Yes. It absolutely will not hurt. So here's what you can do. If you are feeling overwhelmed by economic uncertainty, work on not regulating your nervous system from what does my head tell me I need? What does my heart need? What do my lungs need? What does my gut need?
Yeah.
What does my body need? Yes, everyone can benefit. People hate when I say this, but breathing exercises, movement, co-regulation, like safe social connections, what you're talking about. Search out therapists who are looking. Ask the therapist that you know, do you have spots open for low income? Just ask.
Right.
Probably if you call me, I'll be like, okay.
You saw one of my kids.
I've seen a lot of people.
I got in trouble when I was at my last nonprofit because Carolyn was like, I'll see your kid for, I think you charged $25. And we're like, we'll pay for it. And we got in trouble because we didn't go through the proper channels. I was
hate that shit.
I cannot find a therapist for this young person. And this young person and Carolyn have now created a relationship and he's benefiting. Like, make it work.
Yeah.
Make it work. God damn it. She's licensed.
Yeah.
She did her hours here at this organization. Like,
well, and that's the thing. This
many
is where
barriers.
the system needs to change too.
Right.
But the more I think that people are involved at that low level, they'll see that and then you vote, and then you vote differently.
Right.
You show up differently. It changes every single cell in your body when you're doing this. If that is not powerful, I don't know what is. So use ACT principles. I strongly recommend. I put the book.
I love it.
That I want you to check out, Jen. You would fucking love
I'm
this.
into it already.
Do some ACT with you.
Okay.
Lean into collective care. Community support isn't just emotional; it's economic.
Yes.
When that's sharing resources, bartering. I will barter services with you.
I love that.
I will trade. Not supposed to. But don't tell on me. But well, now I just outed myself. But I'll do that. Nannying, hairdresser. When I had a hairdresser who was like, "Yeah, if you do this, I'll do that."
That's awesome.
It's always legal. Yeah. But so lean into that collective care and stay politically engaged. Give yourself breaks.
Yeah.
But economic policies affect mental health. Vote, advocate, push for systemic change. Those are mental health strategies.
Yeah. I mean, I cannot tell you. It was really nice going out to that protest at Tesla. I brought my child. He's 7.
2 in 1 week. You did 2.
We did 2.
I did 1.
I did 2 in 1 week. So it was nice. Wasn't it nice to be in community with union folks and working folks united against Doge and united in saying, hey, this Airbnb dude needs to pay his fair share, pay his taxes to the city of San Francisco. That was lovely. And then going out to that Tesla protest with my kid, the energy was positive. First of all, we're making a difference because Tesla stock is tanking and it feels good. Yeah. And it's because people don't want to be associated with Elon Musk. And part of that is us standing in front of Tesla dealerships every weekend and saying, don't buy a Tesla. Fuck this shit.
Well, and don't assume too, because that was one of the things I mentioned in a TikTok post maybe about a month ago was I'm not always super comfortable in big things. Yes. And I think I've sort of put that, whether that's a social anxiety or just, it just freaks, something about it is hard for me. And so I had this idea that like, well, then I guess I can't go to protests. This was not like that.
Right.
So don't let things stop you.
Yeah. And people are
Do
kind.
things differently.
People are kind, you guys. Us leftists tend to be really nice. And it was so sweet at the Tesla protest. Like this older leftist, like brought my kid over and helped him make a sign. And Liam made his first protest sign as an old school leftist. It was like a very proud moment for me as a child. And they were like pushing him to the front so he could be seen by the cars with his little sign.
Powerful. He's going to remember that.
Yeah. And they were playing really upbeat, beautiful 60s music. And I was like, you know what? Even if this wasn't having an economic impact on Tesla, this would still serve a purpose. And it's serving the purpose, all the purposes that you just named. And there's power in that.
Well, what's the virtue for you?
Yes. Yes, it's beautiful. Like, I love that there's an economic component and that we are making an impact. Go listen to our boycott episode. It's working. Yeah. But I also just love being in community with like-minded people.
You don't feel so alone. And I think that's the good thing about TikTok and about that's what social media is intended to do. Yeah. It's intended to bring like-minded people, hopefully for good, in humanity. Unfortunately, there's what do you say? The internet interfere with our away. But I always say too, when I'm talking to people who are like, I don't know how to date, get the fuck off Hinge and TikTok and all, or not TikTok, stay on TikTok with us. Yeah. Stop being on the dating apps, take a break, go to political groups.
Yes.
You want to find someone who shares your politics?
Just go out and have a good time.
Go out and have a good time.
Go out and dance and
Party it up with people your age who care.
And you know what? There is something, I mean, it may sound flippant, but there is something to going out and just however you let your hair down, just fucking do it.
Yes.
This is why I live for my trips to New Orleans.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going with my best friends and my family to Mexico in August. Like we are going to have, in spite of, we're going to fight the fight. We're going to do the work,
and
but we're also going to take some fucking breaks, yo.
And don't feel guilty about that.
No, don't feel guilty.
You're allowed.
Yeah, this administration might actually tank the entire world.
Yeah, but if you are feeling guilty, chances are you're not living in the virtues.
Yeah.
I will say that if you are feeling that sense of like, oh, shit, like something's up then.
Yeah.
You need to look at that.
Yeah, we'll give you some ideas on how to get involved. So our final thought on this is that, you know, while some economists advocate for targeted tariffs to protect industries facing unfair competition, others emphasize the importance of trade agreements that open new markets without escalating tensions. However, most agree that an all-out tariff war leads to economic hardship, harming businesses, consumers, and global stability. Finding a balanced approach, one that safeguards American industries while fostering cooperative trade relationships, remains key to long-term economic success. And when businesses face higher costs due to tariffs on raw materials, they're going to cut jobs, reduce wages, or pass the costs on to consumers. We know this. Additionally, retaliatory tariffs from other countries can hurt American exports, leading to job losses in industry reliant on global trade. Ultimately, while tariffs may provide short-term protection for certain workers, they often contribute to higher living costs and economic instability for the broader working class. And that is who we're concerned about, because that is the group that we're a part of. Yeah. So, and even if I weren't, I think my outlook would be very much like Warren Buffett, for instance, who's incredibly rich and always, and maybe Warren Buffett's done some shitty stuff, but he's always advocating for tax reform.
I never can tell if he's a good one or a bad one.
As far as I know, he's very good. He's one of the, I forget what the name of this club of people is, these billionaires, millionaires and billionaires who give away most of their wealth. And so he's in that group.
Well, and that's the only time I'm okay with that tax part of it, that maybe it is better just to give it away directly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thank you for clarifying that, because someone was talking about that. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. So he's far as I know, he's one of the good ones. And he's always saying like, you know, it's not fair that my executive assistant pays more taxes than I do. He gets it. You know?
Yeah.
So I think I can honestly say that if you and I all of a sudden won the lottery tomorrow, we wouldn't stop caring. I always say I want to win the lottery so I can start multiple nonprofits. So please, universe, give me the money. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. This is why I need to win the lottery, because I'm going to do good things with that money. Anyway, Not the point. Tariffs suck. Trump sucks. Fuck this administration. Fuck Doge. Listen to The World According to Jen and Carolyn. Follow us on TikTok. WAT, WATJC.
Please follow us.
Please follow us.
We're 225.
We're over 2,500 in our community on TikTok. We love y'all.
Live.
We're going to do lives. The next show we do is going to be live. I promise. I'm going to clean up this pod cave that we podcast in to make it a suitable environment.
Female pod cave.
Well, next time we're going to do it in the guest room, which is all like big vag energy.
Okay.
So
I need a disco ball.
I might be able to make that work for you, dude. All right, y'all. We will see you soon. Keep listening. Stay strong. Fight the fucking power, y'all.
Yeah.